Next, I would like to ask Representative Nick Rahal to come to the podium to introduce our distinguished keynote speaker.
Thank you, Frank. It is indeed my honor this morning to introduce our keynote speaker, our U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Ray Lahood. You know, it's been mentioned quite often during this morning about the partnerships that we build in infrastructure, and indeed we all are partners in this effort. Whether it's our educational institutions, Dr. Kopp, who's here from Marshall University, that has been recognized, and they house the Ray Hall Transportation Institute, whether it's our federal partners in federal highways, such as Tom Smith sitting over here to my right, our local economic developers, our state legislature, our governor's team, all of us are in this together, and we do have the common goal. Our Secretary, Ray Lahood, who during his 14 years in the House of Representatives certainly knew what partnerships were about, who has seen firsthand and has been deeply involved in reaching across party aisles in order to build those partnerships, to build those coalitions, and to build the consensus that's necessary to get things done. Ray has been a true friend of mine for several decades now, before he even came to the Congress and during his years as Chief of Staff to then Minority Leader Bob Michael from his home state of Illinois. When President Obama nominated Ray to serve as Secretary of Transportation, I knew right then that Ray Lahood was the right person at the right time to address the pressing transportation needs of our nation. Leading an agency with more than of 55,000 employees and a $70 billion budget, Secretary Lahood oversees our air, maritime, and surface transportation missions. While his decades as an elected leader certainly make him qualified for such a position, I suspect it was his years as a junior high school teacher back in Peoria, Illinois, that taught him how to get folks to behave, to come to the table, and work together to get the job done, because that's what his whole career has been about. And both in the House and at the Department of Transportation, I've had the honor of working closely with the Secretary on countless transportation issues important to our state and our nation. And we've seen that he has had some difficult issues on his plate of late. And he has come out and forthright addressed those issues, addressed them head on without any ducking. And so that's the type of person that I'm introducing to you today. A man that will tell it to you like it is, a man that will treat you like you should be treated in a fair manner, of which Senator Rockefeller spoke, and a man that truly understands America's transportation needs, our infrastructure problems, and this is not his first visit to West Virginia, and it's not going to be his last visit to West Virginia, in case he doesn't know it. But it is indeed my very sincere pleasure to welcome the 16th Secretary of the Department of Transportation and my dear friend, Secretary Ray Lahood.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for your interest in transportation and being here. And several months ago, Nick called me and asked if I would come and participate in this very important program. And obviously, when Nick calls, I do whatever he tells me. He has been a dear friend. He and I have worked together since my very first days in the Congress on the Transportation Committee, and he and I share a love of our ancestors' homeland, Lebanon, and we've spent a lot of time traveling to the Middle East together, and I know he's a transportation expert, but he's also an expert on the Middle East, and our love of Lebanon is something that really binds us and has bound us together for a long, long time. I also consider your senator and your other congressperson dear friends also. As Shelley said, she and I served on the Transportation Committee. We were neighbors together in the Longworth building. I have so much respect for her and the work she does. She's a very serious legislator, not only for the work she does on transportation, but on financial services and on really just paying attention to her constituents, and I'm delighted. I'm going to talk a little bit about how bipartisan transportation is, and I'm so delighted that Shelley is here because I know this delegation does work together in a bipartisan way. That's what the people of this state expect, and to have Shelley as a part of this team is just so important. When I was nominated for this very important job, I went to see Senator Rockefeller, who I'd known a little bit, but not as well as I know now. And he has treated me with the highest respect. He and I have been very strong partners. He's the chair of the Commerce Committee, which will have the jurisdiction to write a part of the transportation bill, a very important part of it. He and I share the same values about transportation. I had the pleasure and really pride earlier on in my political career to work for his father-in-law, who was, I'm from Illinois, and his father-in-law was a wonderful, wonderful, outstanding senator from Illinois, Senator Charles Percy, and I got to know his lovely wife Sharon during that period, and Chuck Percy was really a good senator, and so my friendship with Senator Rockefeller goes further back with his spouse than with him, but he and I have been good team players. This part of the country is so well represented by very serious people who take transportation so serious. So thank you all for the partnership and the friendships that we have formed during our time in Congress and during our time as Secretary of Transportation. Will you help me thank them for their public service and the work that they do for our country? Let me just make 2 or 3 quick points here. Number one, transportation is bipartisan. I know that. I've lived it. During my 14 years in Congress, I served with Nick and Shelley on the Transportation Committee. During that time, we passed 2 bills. Both bills passed with over 380 votes in the House and over 80 votes in the Senate. There are no Republican or Democratic roads, and there are no Democratic or Republican bridges or anything transportation. Transportation is bipartisan. That's why I'm optimistic in talking to Senator Rockefeller and Shelley and Nick and other people who are interested in transportation. We will pass a transportation bill this year. Now, when you look at the money that we received as a result of the stimulus bill, $48 billion, that's the money we received in the stimulus bill that was passed within 30 days of President Obama being sworn in. Over 2 years, we took that $48 billion and put it into 15,000 projects and created 65,000 jobs. Some of that money has come to this state, but a lot of it has been spread around the country. When these members of Congress pass a transportation bill, it'll be a jobs bill. That's what it will be. It will put our friends and neighbors to work, building roads, building bridges, building infrastructure, and making sure that America can compete internationally when it comes to infrastructure. We've proven over the last 2 years that we can do it. In 2 years, $48 billion, 15,000 projects, 65,000 jobs. No partisanship involved in any of that, just putting Americans to work. That's why we need to pass a transportation bill in Washington. That's why this kind of leadership will leave us with a new transportation bill. They will pass one, and it'll be bipartisan. The only problem we have is trying to find the resources to do that, and it's difficult. These are hard economic times. If it were easy, it would have been done 2 years ago when the last bill expired. So now we're more than 2 years beyond the last bill. And we need to do it, because when we do it, it will put people to work. It will fix up crumbling infrastructure. And I assume one of the reasons that you came to this meeting is to hear how we're going to do it and what will be involved in it. And look, there's no secret. We need to fix up our roads. We need to put our roads in state of good repair. The same with our bridges. After the Minnesota collapse, within 1 year, they built a new bridge. We can do things quickly. We can do them by the book. All of the money that we spent under the stimulus was spent by the book. There were no boondoggles, no earmarks,